Hey y'all, welcome back to Camp Jackson. And if you watched our last video, you'll see where, well, I broke the truck. I didn't break it, it's a Ford, what do you expect? But we were changing out the brakes on it, and we'd been hearing some noises on this thing. So while we had it up in the air, we were going to take a look and see if we could figure out what that was. And we did, but during changing the brakes, we ran into some issues with that as well. And today I want to try and get those corrected. So, cue the intro, and we'll be right back. Alright, I already got this thing up in the air. Let me get the wheels off of it, and I'll show you what's going on here. We got the wheels and tires off, and driver's side, what we found is that the rotor here has a very pronounced ridge on the inner and outer edges of it. So we did pick up a new one, and we did go to the Ford dealer for it. And for $150, that's what you get. And that's just for the rotor. That does not include the hub. The hub we're going to have to do later on, because that one is $630 plus tax. Just for the hub, not for the lockout, not for the axle, not for the rotor, just the hub. Oh, and if you hear the cows yelling in the background, one of the neighbor's cows got out and got over into our pasture here, so he had to come get her back. No big deal. It happens when you live out in the country. One thing I didn't show you the last time, removing calipers. Some of them, the brakes will be attached to the calipers, and you'll be able to get a hold of it once you take the bolts out on the back and simply pop it out. These do not. The brakes are attached to the bracket here, the mounting bracket for the caliper, and they have these little tits on them here that on the back side, the pistons for the caliper actually sit over top of them. They're like guide pins for it. And in order to remove it, it will not just simply pop off. And that's again where I had an issue the last time. So I had to grab my C-clamp here, and before I can even remove it the first time around, I have to compress it slightly to get those cylinders pushed in so that the caliper will come off. So now we're going to get this caliper off, and being as we're changing the rotor out, we're going to go ahead and hang this from the leaf springs here, or from the coil springs, and then that way we won't risk any damage to the brake line. Let me get this off of here and get it up and get the new brakes that we put on this side back out again. And then we're going to remove the bracket here, the mounting bracket, and that does have a couple of bolts on the back side. We'll get those out, and then the rotor, we might have to give it a few love taps, but then the rotor will come off and we'll get the new one on. Alright, as you can see, we have the caliper mounting bracket removed. It's right here. And on that back side, like I said, there was two bolts holding that in, and these are two 21mm bolts. And they do feed in through the back side and thread into here. And if forgive me here, I'm trying to hurry up. I have to fight the daylight every day. At least on the weekdays, it's hard to go and work all day long. The sun's setting early still. And I've got to try and get home and get this done. And this whole week it's been nothing but rain, rain, and rain. And being as I don't have a garage to work out of, as you can see, we're out here just on the gravel in the driveway doing this. It's all I got, so I'm gonna make the best of it. Okay, mounting bracket, the rotor. Sometimes you will need a big hammer, and just get you the biggest damn hammer you can find, and you're going to have to give this thing some love taps to get her loose. In this case, this one's actually pretty free. And off she comes. And those ridges on there are pretty bad. Okay, and here is our new rotor. Very simple. Back on all the way. Get the mounting brackets on and get the brakes back on this side. We'll get to that other side where I had the real problems. Okay, we're back over here on the passenger side now. And as you can see, the old brake shoes are still in there, or the brake pads. So we're going to get those out. Okay, problem we had before was these pistons here. We were not able to get them compressed enough to go on with the new brakes, because they have to go over the caliper here or over the rotor, and you do have to compress these all the way in. So my wife, with great delight, I might add, was kind enough to bring me the loaner tool that the discount auto parts stores have, especially after all the crap I give her about being a manager for one of the discount stores. So you have your backing plate, you have the correct size plate here to go up against your piston, and the kit does come with several different ones. We'll get that in there, and so mounting plate, pressure plate up against the piston, and as we unscrew this right here, it will push pressure on that from here to here, and it will push that piston in, hopefully. So let's see how this goes, because we do have to compress these completely. It can be a struggle sometimes. All right, if these go on, then I guess I'm gonna have to apologize to my wife and her crew. All right, we got our new brake pads here, and you can see I got the clips installed. Okay, you can see the brakes are fit up in there, and that gap right now, that is simply because of the springs here. They keep that gap in there so that the brakes don't constantly ride up against the rotor. When you let off your brakes, they'll open up just slightly. Oh, moment of truth. See if the caliper fits. You ever had those days when things just don't go as planned? Well, that happened to us. The last you seen in that video was me about to put the caliper back on the passenger side of the truck. And unfortunately, the video files that I had for the ending of that whole video became corrupted and unusable. So I thought I'd take the time to just go ahead and finish it off here this way. It did work just fine, and I have to say thank you to my wife and her crew for the parts and for the loaner tools that they have, which allowed me to compress the cylinders fully and made everything go smoothly. And I know I gave them some grief on the last video, and yes, I heard about it. Grant, you know who you are. But I just like to poke fun at them whenever I can. Hell, when we drive past the competitors, I'll sing their theme song to my wife. I usually get smacked for it, but it's worth it. But I wanted to let you all know that what I call the discount auto parts stores, they definitely have their place in the business. They have a lot of things you can use. They're not all bad. They're just some of the parts that I prefer to get from the dealer. And that's a personal thing on my part. So don't hold it against them. But Misty, Trisha, Grant, Daniel, all the rest of you, guess what? I'm still going to give you crap over it, even when I come in there to buy stuff myself. So I'm going to stand out here for just a few minutes, and I really need to grab a fishing pole. And that would make my wife mad, go fishing without her, catch a big old bass out of this pond. In the meantime, y'all make sure you go and hit that like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment. And have no worries, there's plenty more work on that front end that we got to do. So if I missed something or we went over it and wasn't clear about it, you'll get to see every bit of it coming up before too long here. So, y'all have a great night, and hopefully I don't have any more issues with the video files being corrupted. Thanks for watching.